NATO is rejecting Ukraine's calls to establish a no-fly zone over the country's airspace.
The decision comes amid international outrage following Russia's capture of the country's largest nuclear power plant. Russian troops seized the plant early Friday morning local time. The assault caused a fire at the facility, which has since been extinguished. Officials say the reactors are secure and the plant's radiation monitoring systems are fully active at this time.
Joining us now for more on this is Mark Green. He is the former U.S. ambassador to Tanzania and the president, direct, and CEO of the Wilson Center. Ambassador Green, thank you so much for joining us. So how does Russia seizing control of Europe's largest nuclear power plant change the international approach to peace talks moving forward?
Well, I think it's a combination of things as you talk about the seizure of the nuclear power plant, but also, quite frankly, the rapidly escalating numbers of displaced people pouring over the border into other parts of Europe is a reminder that this is not simply Ukraine's conflict, that this has profound implications for the region and for the world. And all of a sudden, that means that NATO has much more at stake than it did if it was a contained conflict. And so I think that changes the dynamics and will force NATO leaders to think carefully about next moves. So much of what they have been doing to date was in an effort to kind of deter or prevent what we've already seen happen. Now, all of a sudden, they have to go back to the drawing board.
Ambassador, so far, the U.S. and NATO have really remained adamant they will not send troops into Ukraine. The establishment of a no-fly zone, as we've mentioned, is still out of the question. However, the alliance is seriously considering a significant increase to NATO forces in the east. What are some of the next steps we should expect to see from the international community as this situation in Ukraine worsens? And how does the U.S. calling the assault and capture of the Ukrainian nuclear facility a war crime really change things?
Well, in fact, we know that the administration has already sent people into the region to gather information to begin to explore war crimes litigation. Part of that is sending a very clear signal to not so much Putin, but those around him, that there will be lasting repercussions for them personally and in their careers, and this is going to change their life trajectory. But again, I think that NATO's got a number of things that needs to take a look at. There's a lot of talk about getting more military supplies, more humanitarian supplies into Ukraine. The question is, how do you get it there? Right. And so I think taking a look at some of those crossings, that's going to be a key part of what NATO looks at right away.
Well, speaking of how do you get it there, I mean, as you know, the Biden administration is offering temporary humanitarian protection from deportation for tens of thousands of Ukrainians in the U.S. But my question is, what would be the alternative? I can't imagine that you can get people into Ukraine easily now anyway, correct? I mean, what more can you tell us about this decision?
Well, that's right. And I support the decision. I think it's the right move. But it touches upon something I think we all need to be thinking about. When you deal with displaced communities, you have the immediate, what we all see as our moral and ethical obligation to provide humanitarian shelter, food, medicine. But there's also the long term, a couple of ramifications. You're at risk of having a lost generation of young people being disconnected from the world around them, disconnected from education, all of those things that they need to become productive members of society is at risk. I think that's a big piece of it. And then getting back to your previous segment, let's not forget that when we see this kind of damage, the food security needs are not merely the immediate. Again, food assistance we must do. But it's the loss of growing seasons. It's the loss of agricultural livelihoods will have profound implications for the individuals involved, but for the region and for the world. So this is not a passing matter. This is a significant change in trajectory in human history. And that is something that should rally all the world's leaders, even those who have been a little hesitant to get involved before. Now is the time. Failure to get involved is going to lead to long-term, very damaging repercussions.
So much yet to be seen. This really is history changing course. Ambassador Mark Green, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.